Cooperative project was a result of some emergency money that we got from DCMS via Arts Council England. The purpose of this funding pot was to help support people who may be struggling with loneliness due to the pandemic. So we looked at who we could best support, and we split the project down into 3 strands.
Well, I'm happy to see familiar faces. I know you've come from different.
The first strand was poetry in care homes.
I've room in my beak for a little more. And she twitters back, and then off they both go. He flies high, she flies low. I see the hedge she's chosen for a home. I feel protective.
It's good to be back. It's good to be back. It's good to be back. It's good to be back.
So the thinking was that individuals living in care homes who may have been struggling during the pandemic, may have been feeling isolated, we wanted to give them an opportunity to talk about how they were feeling, to be creative. But not just to do that, we wanted to create a project that had a very clear beginning, middle and end, so that they had something to look forward to. So linking them up with local poet Mick Jenkinson, we set them a task. We gave them a copy of a poetry book that we produced with a local poetry group, Read to Write. That poetry book detailed the poet's own experience of COVID and lockdown. And then we sent them a copy of that along with some tasks, and those tasks invited the community members living in the care homes to respond to a poem within that poetry book, to talk about how it made them feel and add to it with their own feelings. The notes that they then made went back to the original poets, and they then co-wrote a new piece of poetry. The outcome was the creation of a new poetry book, and then that poetry book went back out into the care homes to the poets that had written the work that was within it. It's a really beautiful project, very poignant. The words were very, very touching, very emotive. Strand 2 is craft boxes for food banks. So what we wanted to do was to create craft boxes that we could disseminate out to families or isolated people via food banks. We've been approached and spoken to a number of food banks within Doncaster, and that was something that was really coming across, that people weren't just in need of food, they were in need of things that could feed their mind and keep them busy. So we worked with an illustrator called Will Richardson, who designed really high quality imagery that we could use across all 4 of the boxes that we produced that were sent out via food banks. And in each of the craft boxes we had a craft activity that sort of had multiple uses. We wanted to send out boxes that didn't just feel like a craft box, it had to feel like a gift, like you were being thought of, and this was something special for you. But within those boxes there was a craft activity that had multiple uses, whether that's a tea towel that is printed with an illustration of a woman that could be used as a tea towel, or you could cut that illustration out, and we provided the materials to sew it together, to stuff it, to create something that you could then hold to the creation of a doll. And the thinking was that if you were lonely and isolated, you had something to hold, or if you were a grandparent that was missing a grandchild, you could have something that you could make and then gift to them. Or if you were a family, it was an activity that you could do together, so that there was multiple layers there, and a greater level of value, I suppose, in what we were sending out. The other thing I probably should also say is that everything that we produced via those craft boxes was from sustainable materials or recycled materials, because we were really conscious also that the creation of 400 boxes of craft activities was that we were purchasing a lot of stuff. So not only did it need to be useful, it also had to consider sustainability as well. Strand 3, we were really keen on reaching young people within Doncaster, young creatives that may have lost their social networking opportunities, if you like, or they may have come back from university, or they might not be in school because of COVID. So we wanted to create workshops that enabled them to come together and feel a part of something. Working with two young creatives that have their own business within Doncaster called True Tone, we recently delivered a project with them that they had shaped. And we thought that this was a great opportunity to put some more investment in the continued development of that project. We delivered 9 workshops, I think, across 9 weeks, and those workshops were all very different, all led by local, well actually no, not always local, but majority local creatives, but they were selected because of what the group had said that they wanted to participate in, whether that be poetry or fashion or songwriting. And that was all delivered online, that was all via Zoom, very well attended and a very broad uptake for that particular project.